Delver. So we're going to go to table 3, Warren Woodward and John, or table 1 actually, but the third group of 3-0s. There's going to be mono black control versus Cyclops. Rest of top 16, so we got 6 undefeateds right now, and then the 2-1s run quite a bit deep. I think it goes even further down than this, but this gives you an idea how the metagame and the top tables are shaping out. See, we'll go back to the matches and see if we could pull up the timer.
So it looks like we're at 49:40 on the timer. There we go. Nice job syncing it up, Sean.
Yeah.
You're a master of all trades.
I like to think that. So what do you think of this matchup right here?
Well, talking to Jason in the first round, it really sounds like Cyclops is trying to dodge mono black just due to the presence of how many edicts are in the mono black deck, and also to the probably density of duresses post board. So, I don't have a lot of experience with this matchup, but it sounds like Warren is probably favored.
Okay, that's pretty cool. We haven't actually seen mono black control on the screen, but we do have a lot of mono black control here today, so would not be surprised to see it do well.
Yeah, at the same time, the blue-red Cyclops deck is incredibly explosive, so, any deck that can kill you on turn 3 and Pauper just has a chance to, win out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Taking a look at the blue-red Cyclops deck, how does this compare to the one we previously had on camera?
Let's see. It looks pretty similar. Might be even card for card, although I can't remember if Jason had Dispels in the main deck, so John is running 2 main deck Dispels. Yeah. Otherwise, you have the standard creature package of 4 Kiln Fiend, 4 Nivix Cyclops, and 4 Delver of Secrets. I think in this matchup, Delver of Secrets' primary job is to eat an Edict and save one of the big boys.
Oh yeah, for sure. Looks like John was not particularly happy with his hand. He's going to send his 7 back for a better 6. Warren kept his 7.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just kind of one of the tricks to competitive tournament play, right? Is if you know your matchup, it's okay to throw back borderline hands, especially if you're a bit of a dog in the matchup. If you say the only way I'm winning this game is if I have a good or great hand, then you just throw back mediocre ones.
John scries a copy of Island to the bottom of his library. He's already got 2 lands in his deck. His deck is pretty light and low resource. He doesn't need too many.
Yeah, only 17 lands in John's deck, although he does have a few in his hand. But he does get an early Kiln Fiend here. 3 islands is not great. I think he drew another island there.
Yeah, it's going to be met by Disfigure. Which figure? Disfigure. From Warren Woodward.
All right, and that is a nightmare scenario for John right there.
Yeah. Mono black control is just full of removal spells. You got Kumbhag's Witches, you got Grey Merchant, you got Disfigure, Chainer's Edict, Guest Verdict, Victim of Night, Oubliette, Tendrils of Corruption, which I guess that one goes for players, right?
No, it's creatures only.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so John draws a Kiln Fiend, which is a great draw. I mean, his hand is still not fantastic, but that was definitely one of the cards he needed to get back into this.
Yeah. Warren pulls ahead with a Cyan Blood. Hopefully for him he finds a removal spell, because that Cyan Blood does take a little bit out of his life total, and the Kiln Fiend is a very fast clock.
Yeah, I find that the Kiln Fiend tends to do damage, in chunks of 12 or 20. So being at 18, not particularly relevant. Oh, fair. John draws another land. That's heartbreaking. All right, here comes 1. Get you.
1 damage from the Kiln Fiend. No blockers, presumably. It's going to go upstairs with a Lightning Bolt.
That's an interesting choice.
Kiln Fiend.
I mean, the mono black deck is full of a lot of chump blockers. It has Chittering Rats, Phyrexian Rager.
That's a good point.
Kumbhag's
On the
Witches.
same hand, if there are chump blockers, that is 4 less damage to be had in future turns. I do think I like your argument.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I might have saved the Bolt to try to get a chump blocker out of the way on a later turn.
Yeah. But in any case, I guess it's a matter of playing around removal or playing around chump blockers in a sense.
That's true.
May not be a great choice. May not be any great choice to be had.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't play around removal either, so I don't know. We'll see. I gotta say though, I like John's land choices.
We got a Mirage Island and some mismatched. Sorry, Mirage Mountain, some mismatched islands.
Mostly I like the islands.
Okay, fair enough. You don't.
Or,
have eyes
I'm
for
sorry,
anything
mostly I
else.
like the mountains. I didn't mean the islands.
Okay.
The buckets are cool, but
So it looks like the Kiln Fiend successfully connected, drops Warren down to 11. In a turn, he's going to play an Unearth or a Cyclone
Cyclone
Unearth.
Earth.
Draw a card. I guess the Unearth is kind of reason to not hold the Lightning Bolts, but maybe narrow. So I think I still agree with your line.
Yeah. I mean, you still can't unearth at instant speed. It is a sorcery. This might be a Tendrils. Oof. Yeah.
That is Tendrils of Corruption going upstairs at the Kiln Fiend.
And I like Warren's play there. Even though Tendrils is an instant, you know, if he forces John to defend it on John's turn, then the Kiln Fiend's not going to get any bigger. So
Yeah.
in this case, he gains 4 life, but if John had Apostle's Blessing, then it would have at least been 3 less damage.
Yeah. Tendrils of Corruption, big life swing because it takes care of a pretty scary threat as well as gains 4 life for Warren.
Yeah, and this is a scary hand for John to be looking at. It's got another Tendrils. It has Okiba Gang Shinobi. It's the one that makes you discard 2 cards when it hits you, and it's got Ninjutsu 4. But
Yeah, he does run a copy of Okiba Gang Shinobi in the main deck as well as 1 copy in the sideboard.
Oh, that's right. I forgot I have the list here. There's a Gourmet Angler, another Sign in Blood, and some card that's all glare, which I assume means it's super powered.
Oh yeah, super secret tech. So here we have an Okiba Gang Shinobi here on camera, or not really, an image of one on camera. It's a pretty scary card if it connects.
Yeah, so the Shinobi is great because not only does it let you, kind of get into discard 2 cards, but if you have like a Phyrexian Rager or Chittering Rats, you're kind of just like stacking value on value. That's where this mono black deck gets its control elements from.
You know the best thing I like about all these cantrips in Pauper?
What?
You don't need to play Serum Visions. That's just against the spirit of both Eterno and Pauper. It's too expensive and it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think anybody gets into Magic to cast Serum Visions. All right, looks like there's some confusion amongst the players. Potentially whether or not John has already played a land this turn. I believe that he should be able to make this land drop.
Yeah, Warren hasn't missed a land drop either, and John was on the play. I don't believe he's missed a land drop yet.
Right. I think maybe Warren was a little confused just by putting the land into play untapped. John may have also not drawn off Ponder, right? Or already, so maybe there's some confusion there. But I don't think drawing off Ponder is a trigger that you're allowed to miss, so
Yeah.
I believe this is all legit.
So it looks like players figured this out for themselves. Cast a copy of Preordained. Gets a little bit deeper. I'm sure this land's going to go to the bottom. Oh, and he's going to send the Ponder back to. Makes
Interesting.
sense. He didn't have another blue source, and I think he's trying to dig for things before things get out of control for the non-control player.
I guess. I guess he was probably hoping to hit the Kiln Fiend there and get some action going.
Oh, that would be pretty good. But he's already lost 2 copies.
Yeah, it would be hard for me to put the Ponder back or on the bottom there.
Gaming with Squash has a question. What do you guys play in Modern? Do you play Modern anymore?
I briefly played Rug Tron because it was cheap.
Okay. Yeah, I played Abzan Pod. Got 1 tournament, got banned. I quit the format. Got back in with Abzan Company. I'm kind of enjoying it, but
That's true. I also built Jund, and then they banned. I think I got in after they banned Blood Red Elf, and then they banned Deathray Shaman, and then I was like, well, we're done with Modern. We're done.
I think Modern goes. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes less so. It's definitely not my favorite format, but it's got times and it's got like its own niche. I enjoy Absent Company a lot. Here we have Chittering Rats hitting the battlefield for John.
Yep, making him put one of those cards back on top of his library. I think if I could do 2 things to fix Modern, I would reprint Days, because I think it would just keep a lot of the degenerate combo decks in play, or even just make the game more interactive in Modern, which I don't think it is. And then I would institute a rotating ban list. So instead of them saying this is banned because it's too good for Modern, to just say like, we're just going to ban this to change up the format, and there's a good chance it'll be back in 6 to 12 months or whatever.
Is that another Chittering Rats? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Interestingly, so maybe John hasn't played this matchup a lot. Sometimes what you want to do versus the mono black deck is empty your hand in order to make you a little more resilient to Chittering Rats. So this last turn he didn't play the island, but if he played the island and then bolted the Chittering Rats response, at least he gets a fresh draw.
Yeah. Chittering Rat's very annoying. It's even more annoying than discard when you have bad cards in hand, because that just sets you back on tempo so much.
Yeah, when you're not winning and the chittering rats start hitting the field, then you're very far from winning.
So that Gurmag Angler is probably going to close off the game in pretty short order. John doesn't have very much gas to work with. He's got some burn spells, but I mean, that's not really going to do it against this clock that Warren's presenting. He really needed to get his Killfinger Cyclops online to really put a fast clock.
Yeah, and then the mulligan to 6, and then a couple of land draws sort of spelled the end there.
Warren's going to try to crash in for 9. Lightning Bolt's going to try to reduce that to a 3-turn clock rather than a 2-turn clock. But right now he's trying to like stay alive, and I don't see him like really making any progress on this game.
And interestingly, I think that Warren has another Unearth in his hand, so if the rat does die, it pretty much just seals the deal for John.
Tendrils of Corruption on his own Chittering Rat.
No, this is the Shinobi.
Oh, okay.
So interestingly, like, you know, it was sort of ingrained in us as Magic players to wait until the very last minute to play our spells. But Pauper has enough ninjas in it that you actually want to get people in their declare attackers phase before they say no blocks.
Yeah, because now Warren's able to save it with ninjutsu. That was an excellent heads-up play by Warren. I actually wouldn't have minded sending the last card away just to unearth it, and well, that's because I knew there was an island and I just wanted to time lock him some more.
Yeah.
But it didn't really matter in that case. Getting that ninja online was pretty good. So that's going to be game 1 in favor of Warren Woodward. We're going to go to the sideboard, see what these players have to work with.
All right, so Woodward's sideboard first has the 4 relics. I can't imagine those come in. I would imagine that Unmake and Disfigure probably come in.
Yeah, Unmake, a very versatile removal spell. And then we got some, you said Disfigure. We saw that on camera earlier. Just pulling this up for you again. Disfigure, very fast, allows you to get ahead of the Kiln Fiend deck.
Yep.
They could get off the ground pretty quickly, and you're going to be on the draw this game.
And then I wouldn't be surprised if some number of Kumbaji witches or maybe the Okiba gang come out. And that's sort of enough slots there.
I usually prefer the Otis Art of Everything, but Kumba's Witches is so different than its original printed text that I think for the sake of confusion, let's pull up, I guess that was Arabian Nights after all, I'm sorry.
All right. So Kumbaji Witches basically just says you do 1 damage to a target, and then your opponent gets to choose another thing to take 1 damage.
This is
you have to choose first.
This is pretty obnoxious to resolve because normally you announce your spell, choose the mode, choose targets, pay cost. But now your opponent is involved in this too, and there's something they would never print these days.
Let's see. So John's sideboard is actually interesting. It's got an Eldrazi Sky Spawner, Flaring Pain, some counters and burn spells. So I imagine that what he's thinking about bringing in is probably the Stormbound Geist, because it's sort of a nice hedge against some of the Edict effects. And I don't actually know what Eldrazi Sky Spawner does. Does it make an Eldrazi spawn?
1 Eldrazi Scions, 2 and a blue. You've never played against Jeremy Edwards in Legacy.
Absolutely not.
Since Eldrazi got printed, I take it.
Yeah, so I would expect him to just bring in those cards. I guess potentially the Dispel, because Guess Verdicts are actually instants, as are Tendrils of Corruption. So, so probably just those 3.
Sorry, which ones again?
Maybe Counterspell. So probably Eldrazi Sky Spawner, Stormbound Geist, Dispel, and Counterspell?
Yeah, I agree, especially because you want either an Undying Creature or a Token Maker to like get ahead of some of these Edict effects.
And I imagine the Mutagenic Growth can come out, and then you probably just shave some of the numbers. Maybe the Gut Shots come out. They don't seem to do very much.
Yeah. These players are still sideboarding and figuring out how to present.
Let's see.
Maybe we'll go back a little bit to the sideboard.
Well, so Zeron's asked in the chat, how often do you guys homebrew in your tournament? I think Pauper's a high enough power format that a lot of the homebrews do get kind of wrecked by the top tier decks, but there is a lot of room for brewing, especially like if you find an archetype that you like. The card pool is actually wide enough that you can kind of like mess around with a lot of the numbers.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting because, you know, Wizards at this point, they do a good job of like kind of moving where the power is in each set. So it feels like every time they release a new set, there are some commons that are powerful in some new area that like there's a lot of space to play around with new cards.
Yeah.
Whereas like, let's say in standard or modern or legacy, a lot of times you can look at a bunch of the new cards and say like, well, these just aren't really powerful enough for, Storm.
So, in terms of non-pauper formats such as Legacy, I think we're very fortunate here at Card Kingdom. We have a lot of players with really extensive collections, so we don't need to necessarily be restricted budget-wise. And when someone chooses to brew, it's often because like, hey, the metagame might be a little bit inbred. Let's see if we can take advantage of this with something off the radar. In contrast, Pauper doesn't really get held very much in paper. Card Kingdom is the only store I'm aware of that actually holds big Pauper events. But you don't really get a lot of opportunities to play Pauper, and the barrier of entry is actually very low, so there's not really ever really a need to like brew something off the wall. So I don't think we get quite as much. Nonetheless, we do have a very diverse meta here at Card Kingdom.
Well, and I think that's the thing that's nice about Pauper is that, even though it's often hard to brew because the format's pretty high power level, it actually is so low cost to brew that like you can kind of mess around with the deck, not spend a lot of money, and even if it doesn't work out, you're not out anything.
Looks like players have kept their hand. John is going to lead with the Evolving Wilds or a Terramorphic Expanse?
Same diff.
Same thing, Terramorphic Expanse.
Saptox asks, how is Mono Black Control ever going to win against Tron? And the answer is it really doesn't. I think if you're playing Mono Black Control, you probably win like 1 in 10 versus Tron, and that's games. I don't even know if that's matches.
Warren, Swamp, pass. Maybe holding up this figure. Clearly did not elect to play this card spell if he had one. Preordained from John.
Yeah, I think people who are getting into Pauper, you can start anywhere you want to. Just pick a deck that you like how it plays out, or you like some of the cards in it, and I don't think there's any wrong way to enter the format.
That is a Tempest Mountain, which I really like, but he's going to scratch to the bottom, so I'm a little upset.
Looks like John did bring in the Flame Slash. I'm not sure that's exactly the fight he wants to be in, but I mean, the Mono Black deck does have a lot of 2/2s and things like that to get in the way, so.
Flame Slash, I don't know what problematic creatures he might be looking to deal with. Are you actually afraid of a Kumbaj Witches if you're a Cyclops deck?
I don't think so. I mean, in your Apostle's Blessings, pretty much always name black. You never have to get past 2 creatures of different colors. And there's a Kiln Fiend, so that's quite a good draw.
That's step 1.
Let's see. So he decides to put Ponder on top, Kiln Fiend in his hand, and if he plays the Kiln Fiend now, he's not going to be able to protect it. He does have a Dispel in hand, but he's already used his land drop for the turn.
Yeah.
All right, so he passes back. So taking a more conservative route, protecting his Kiln Fiend, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, I do like that.
All right, and here comes Chittering Rats, which is not too big of a deal at this point.
Yeah. Chittering Rats always look so good in Pauper, but that's because there aren't any good miracle cards to, I guess, turn on for your opponent.
That's true. What would a common miracle card look like, do you think? All right, so
very good question.
He's going to burn the rat. I don't know that I like burning the rat here either.
Yeah,
you kind of open up Unearth, and you use a spell, especially a red spell that you could potentially use on your turn.
Yeah, if anything, if I were to go after a creature that doesn't do much, I would at least consider, okay, is it turning on Devotion to a big extent, just because of this Grey Merchant.
Right.
But I guess 2 is potentially there. But yeah, doing it after Kiln Fiend hits the board might have just been a better use of resources.
Right. I think that, like, if he was choked on red mana, or if he didn't have a grip full of blue spells, it would make more sense. And again, I don't have a ton of experience here, so he might be doing something I don't get. But like a lot of times, what you're doing is you're going to chain off Ponder into Preordain. I'd probably fire off the Gush here, John.
So it's a Disfigure getting countered by Dispel, which I think is pretty cool.
Yep.
And disses. What's that second card that went?
So this is Wrench Mine. So I think Warren is sort of saying in this matchup, I want to make him discard so that he's just not going to have enough spell density to kill me. So it doesn't affect the board, but it does sort of impact how many cards John's able to hold in his hand.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was a great draw.
Probably the best he could have asked for, right?
Yeah, still leaves him a little vulnerable to edict effects, but that's
yeah.
sort of just the name of the game when you play against mono black.
All right, so we have a Ponder. This is going to go trigger the Kiln Fiend.
Somebody asked why he's playing Relic of Progenitus over Spellbomb. A lot of times in this format, a lot of decks kind of just take incremental advantage of their graveyards. And so being able to like take a card out of it every turn and not have to commit the whole Spellbomb can just kind of let you pressure your opponent without having to actually use up a resource.
I agree.
And there's enough Delve decks in this format as well that so
This is an aggressive gut shot going upstairs.
yeah, this is very aggressive. I mean, he's giving his creature protection. I mean, doing damage to your opponent is good, but if you don't have spells in your hand, Kiln Beam's a 1/2. So your opponent being at 9 is not...
Oh, when he tapped out. And I'm really afraid here because the Tendrils of Corruption is a huge life swing.
Yeah.
And he could have potentially protected it with an Apostle Blessing.
Right, and it makes cards like Temur Battle Rage kind of dead draws now.
Oh, he still serves for 8 at least, which is...
Still not lethal. You know, when you're playing... Yeah, I mean, all right.
Is that a guess verdict?
That's a guess verdict. Yeah, I mean, this deck is not like a traditional burn deck, you know? It's not as if you're throwing your lightning bolts and your chain lightnings at him to get him to low life. Like, you're kind of a combo deck. You're just trying to get him to not be able to stop you from hitting him, you know, for lethal in one swing.
Yeah. Grimmeg Angler's going to hit the board on Warren's side of the battlefield. Now he has a clock and a pretty beefy blocker. Terramorphic Expanse for John, going to help him find a land. It's also going to help him straighten out his library so that the cards are lined up. That's one of my biggest pet peeves when my deck is mismatched in that sense.
Yep.
What's John working with here? He's got one more card in hand, and I think we knew what that was, but I'm blanking right now.
I think it's a land. Oh, no, it's a Dispel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so do you think you have that last turn, or do you just draw it? Because if he tapped out and could have countered the guess verdict, that's kind of rough.
Well, I'm not sure anymore.
Me neither. All right.
But Warren's got plenty of resources now. It's going to Bojuka Bog, target John. We got... If Tarmogoyf were legal in this format, it would be a 0-1 right now.
It's not even good. All right, I think this might be a Gray Merchant.
Okay, Gray Merchant of... I can't pronounce it.
Asphodel.
Gray Merchant, a.k.a. Gary. Big card in Standard back in the day. It's a corrupt on a stick in a sense, where the life you gain and the damage dealt is equal to the devotion to black. And actually, I guess it's life loss. So that's going to be a tremendous swing, 6-point swing total, and then a 8-point attack is going to drop John down to 1. He's on life support here and may not get the... Oh, drop him down to 2. I can't do math. 5 plus 2 is 7.
Just dropping devotion bombs right here.
All right. So that's going to take... that's going to allow Warren to take the match in his favor. We're going to come back to the booth, maybe see if we can't get Warren on camera, and then maybe talk a little bit between rounds.
All right, so I'll go grab Warren and then see if I can line up another match.
Yeah, cool. That sounds terrific. So
right.
Then we had a very fast 2-game match in favor of Warren. Dak is going to go see if we can grab him, our winner, and he looks like he locked up his spot in the top 8. He could potentially draw twice and ensure himself at least some of the prizes. So right now, we're just gonna sit here in the booth and wait for Warren to get ready. Potentially got time for another backup match, maybe some Pauper even, instead of Vintage, because there's some 26 minutes left. In the meantime, let's take another look at the metagame. So that was the first time we had a mono black deck on camera. There are actually 7 of them today. Probably doing quite well. At least one guy, Warren, is going to be in the top 8 unless he somehow gets no cert on attempts to draw. He's also mono red, blue red Cyclops is tied with mono black control for the most played decks. Unsurprisingly, they were both on camera today. We got some Delver, smattering of mono green aggro, and various other decks. So once again, a pretty diverse meta. Significantly less Kadotha Jeskai than before. Less of these weird brews, but still a lot of exciting magic here. Yes, Gruffy, I agree. This is a really awesome looking store. It's Card Kingdom in Ballard. Believe it or not, Mox Boarding House, the sister store owned by the same owners as Card Kingdom, is even bigger and more awesome. Smaller inventory, but
On the other side.
okay.
And it's mono green Stompy on Russ.
Sorry, Russ right there.
Yeah, across from you.
I'll get that pulled up. Are we getting Warren on camera?
And then Trent and Alan on Yuba teaching.
Okay, thank you. Hey.
I'm Warren. They said you guys want to do an
Yeah.
interview?
Yeah, that sounds terrific.
Cool. What's your name?
Hey, my name is Sean.
Sean.
Congrats on taking that game.
Thank you.
Why don't you go ahead and put on this mic?
Sounds
So you were playing Mono Black Control today, right?
Yeah.
I believe you ran that also at Rags and Riches 3?
I did. I played in one other Pauper tournament, which was Rags and Riches 3, and I made some modifications this time. But this is, that's my only Pauper deck I've really played, and I enjoy it. It's a smooth ride, no mana problems, and so ran it again today.
It's pretty sweet. Can you scoot over a little bit and
Yeah, no problem.
maybe tell us about some of the modifications you're referring to?
Sure. So one thing I noticed last time I played here was there's a lot of other people playing Mono Black Control.
Yeah.
And just as I've played Pauper, there's a lot of really good removal in the format. And the main modification that I made this time, two big ones, mostly to the sideboard, was that I'm running 4 Relic of Progenitus, because there's a lot of graveyard shenanigans and just graveyard value. And then I'm also running my pet card that I've adopted this time. It's not unique to me, but I saw some other builds with it, is Undying Evil.
Undying Evil?
Yeah, it's a 1-mana instant, and it gives a creature Undying until end of turn, which means if it dies, it comes back with a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
So since this deck has all kinds of ETB creatures, it can be a big blowout. Someone uses removal on your Phyrexian Rager, or your Chittering Rats, or your Gary, Undying Evil, and you've used 1 mana to counter their removal spell. Your creature comes back bigger, and you get your trigger again, which is often 2-for-1 with the trigger.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's just 1 mana?
Yep.
That's terrific. Actually, you mentioned Relic of Progenitus as one of your modifications. Someone in chat wondered why you're running that instead of Nihil Spellbomb. You're the Mono Black expert. Do you want to maybe chime in a little bit on why you made that decision?
I think that's a valid path as well. I think you could go one or the other. I don't know.
Right.
I don't have a strong reason.
Yeah, hey, you're 4-0, so it certainly did something right in building the deck. I'm sure it's like a matter of opinion, and I'm sure he was just probably wondering.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm still familiarizing myself with Pauper as a format, and I didn't really even think about Spellbomb.
Okay, well, starting off 4-0 is a good way to familiarize yourself.
Yeah.
Learning on the trade. Okay, great. So in terms of that match, Blue-Red Cyclops, looked like you handled him pretty easily.
Yeah, I've got to play that match actually a strangely high amount of times. That seems to be a fairly popular deck online, and one of my friends that I was testing with for this tournament, that's what he's running as well. So got to play that matchup quite a bit, and really have not had any problems with it. So I've had very favorable matchups most of this tournament. I played 2 green decks, 1 elf, 1 stompy, and then with the Cyclops decks as well. That was all 3 are very favorable matches for Mono Black.
Probably pretty happy to know that the 2 most commonly played decks are Cyclops and Mono Black.
That's good to know for this tournament. Yeah, I don't feel 100% on the mirror, but I do think that Undying Evil on my sideboard will give me a little edge there.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, look, you're 4-0 now. I think that locks up your spot for the top 8 if you elect to draw, and hopefully that's what to do. So maybe we'll be seeing you on camera some more. Do you have anything you want to discuss with the chat?
I just really hope I don't play Tron.
Okay. Well, we'll see how things break out.
Okay,
But,
and shout out to Card Kingdom for being the best place to play Magic.
I totally agree. Hey, well, thanks for having
Cool,
us
thanks
here.
for your time.
Congrats on a 4-0 start and probably a top 8 berth.
Awesome, appreciate it.
Take care.